everyone, Eloise here today for Lawnfawn and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a Christmas card to share with you all. I'll be using the Christmas Fishes stamp set. I'm going to use the jellyfish and the fish, the crab and the Christmas tree and all the other little detail stamps from that set. I'm also going to be bringing in Mermaid for you just because I want to use a couple of the mermaids. And then I'm also using Baaah Humbug just for the little Christmas hat and the bow and the present. This set can be completely left out, but I really wanted there to be little Christmas hats for the mermaids and the merman, so that's why I decided to bring in that set just for a few detail images. This is the colour palette that I am working off today. It's a really different Christmas colour palette, but I thought it was super duper pretty, and so I'm going off of that today. So I chose all of my Copic markers that I wanted to use and that matched the image perfectly and went from there. So I'm first colouring in with some RV markers. So this purpley pink colour, which is super pretty. I'm using RV69, RV66, RV63 and RV91 for this. Then I'm moving on to some yellows. So I'm using YR24, YR23, YR21 and Y21, and I'm using that for the little clam and also the star for the tree and the jellyfish. And I do also go back in and use that yellow a couple more times as well later when I find that I have a few more images that I still need to colour. Now moving on to the Christmas hats. So I'm using some R markers for this. I'm using R24, R21, R20 and R30 and just colouring those on. Even though this pinky shade is a bit too light to be the Christmas hats, it matched the picture perfectly, which is why I'm using it. Then I'm moving on to some blue-green markers. So I wanted the like seaweed tree and things to be this really fun dark teal colour. So I'm using BG78, BG75, BG72 and BG70. BG70 is a little bit too light, but if you go over it a couple of times and sometimes go back to the BG72 marker, you can get it to blend in really nicely. So that worked quite well. But if you're using like this color combination in a really large area with not many lines in it, you may struggle to get a really nice blend. So then I'm moving on to some aqua colors. I'm using BG49, BG13, BG11 and BG10. I'm just colouring in the little mermaid's top and the merman's tail, as well as a couple of other details as well. And then for some blues, I'm using B97, B95, B93 and B91 and colouring in the mermaid's tail and a fish and a present. Then I just went in and filled in all of the other images with the colours once again, just to make sure that they're all coloured in. And then I'm moving on to some browns. So I'm using a combination of E40s for the merman's hair and also a couple of the rocks. Then I'm using these colours here for the skin tones. And then I just went in with a few light greys for the white areas of the images and then just blended that out with a 0 marker to make sure it's all nice and blended. I then also used R00 and R000 for a little bit of blush on their cheeks. And then I went in with a white gel pen and just added quite a few details on each of the images just to add a little bit extra to them. I went ahead and cut them out off camera, and now I'm just going through and arranging my scene to make sure that I like how it all looks. So I have the Christmas tree in the middle with the little singing jellyfish and also a couple of the fish and the crab. Then I've got the two mermaids on the other side, and I'm going to add their little hats onto them and then just add like the other little detail images around the scene to make it more complete. Once I like the layout of my scene, I'm just going to move that all onto one side and work on the background. So for the background, I'm going really super simple today. I have a piece of watercolor cardstock here and I just drew a circle on it using just some clean water. And then I'm just dropping in some blue colors from this watercolor palette. So I added this dark navy color on the top left hand side and just dabbed that in. And then I also pulled in a little bit of this like minty sort of colour. I thought that mixed in really nicely. And then pulling out those colours with a little bit of water and then going back in with that same darker navy colour and just darkening up that top area, and same with the bottom area. Then I'm just blending those out into each other just a little bit, and then I'm going to dry off that panel with a heat tool. I flicked on some white paint onto the background and dried it again, and then I just went ahead and added foam tape onto the backs of all of my images, and then I'm going to adhere them into place. So I'm just adhering them the same way I showed earlier, just in the same sort of position. I really liked the way they were all clustered together before, so I decided to replicate that exactly and just add foam tape and adhere them all into place. I then finished up the scene by adding in all of those small little fun detail images, just using some glue tube adhesive, and that finished up assembling the entire scene together. So then I just have a piece of sage leaf cardstock here that I went ahead and cut down into the size of a card base, and I really wanted there to be a little bit of extra added detailing onto the top and the bottom of the panel, since I cut down my original panel to be a little skinnier. So I just used the Stitched Trails die set and just embossed those patterns into the top and bottom of the card base. I just thought that added a lot to it, which I really liked. I then went ahead and added foam tape onto the back of my scene panel, and I'm just going to adhere that into place into the middle of this card base. That looks really good, so it's time to move on to the sentiment. So I decided to just use the basic Season's Greetings from the stamp set, just the one that comes in a straight line, since I thought that that was the easiest to stamp down onto just a thin black strip, since I didn't really have a lot of room left and I kind of just wanted to tuck it in somewhere. So I just went ahead and white heat embossed that onto a thin strip of black licorice cardstock. I added more foam tape onto the back, and I'm just going to place it above the little crab image, sort of just like tucked behind there. It does overhang the card just a little bit, but this is a skinnier card than a regular size, so it's no worries at all. So that finishes up my card for today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed. I really enjoyed using a different color scheme today to bring this card together. I think it turned out super duper pretty, and it's definitely a very non-traditional color palette. All of the supplies that I used will be listed down below and linked over at the blog, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for stopping by today.